This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright.
And you're listening to the Krypton Report.
And you're listening to Krypton Report.
It's a plane! It's a plane! It's the Krypton Report!
The All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
All right, welcome back to the Krypton Report. It's me, the Superman of Blue, from Columbus area of Ohio, Tyler, and reaching into the vast distance of the world that we live in to find my partner, the Superman Red, about 2 hours away, near Toledo, Ohio. It's James.
Hello.
So we're coming at you today with an exciting episode because we're actually going to touch on something that we haven't really talked on, but last episode, as promised, we had a new Central Kryptonian, actually kind of two of them, if you think about it, to talk about. So we're going to get started and just jump into things. James, give us a synopsis, and what are we talking about first tonight?
We're talking about Titans Season 2, Episode 6, titled Connor. Bing. Connor escapes from Cadmus Labs and emerges into the world for the first time as a free agent, with Krypto in tow. Connor's search for the truth about his past leads him to Lionel Luthor, Lex Luthor's father, and Cadmus geneticist Eve Watson. Eve informs Connor of his true heritage and sends him on a path of self-discovery, examining his own identity and inherent impulses. In a moment of question, Connor chooses to act heroically and finds himself face-to-face with the Titans.
All right. This episode, probably my favorite episode of Titans.
Mine too.
I laughed, I smiled, I got excited. I wasn't sure where they were going to go. It starts off at the beginning with a quick kind of reshot of that tease that we had out last season, which kind of helps us put it in timeline perspective. So this is going on concurrently with what's going on in this season 2, based on how it ends.
Yeah, the seems like the tease there is months. The tease at the end of the credits of season 1 is months in the future, shortly here before what's going on. Like the amount of time that Connor has been out of his tube is barely as long as Jason's been kidnapped by Deathstroke. Maybe slightly longer.
Yeah.
You got to include travel time. They don't have any kind of like time stamps or anything. They don't say how long he's been out of the tube or when it comes to how long it takes to travel and stuff. Because at some point they go from Kansas to San Francisco. So
right.
They drive across half the country. That take you at least a day if you're driving straight on through.
I thought that was crazy, like how it just kind of like cuts and like Krypto, we're in Kansas, and I was like, wow. Thought that was pretty crazy. So, but I liked it. I liked how it started out. It was all kind of like how I had guessed. Like this would be kind of all centered on one character.
You can still see through the dark, right? Make sure the lights. Okay.
We didn't know for sure if it would pick up where the last episode left off or what. And we meet Connor, and I like this actor as Connor.
Yeah.
He looks like he could be Superman. He has his face. Okay, sounds weird, but like certain angles and shots, his face looks different. It's the way they light him or shoot him or just his face. Because,
with him being a mix of Lex and Superman, it's kind of nice that either if it happened naturally or if they shot him that way, he looks kind of different depending on what he's doing and what's going on, what impulses he's acting on, because this is actually quite a different version of Connor than I've ever seen. I haven't read everything from Connor in the comics. since his inception in the reign of Superman. But the fact that he has the emotional maturity of a child, of a 3-year-old. He's very young, and he's just all base impulses and everything. I mean, in Young Justice, which has done him the best so far, he wasn't quite like that. Because to kind of like speed up the process of like him knowing things and having at least a certain understanding of things in the world. He was force fed all of the knowledge and stuff by the genomes.
Yep.
So all of that was just implanted into his head. So he was a lot of base impulses and everything because he just, he had never lived in the world. It was only stuff that was implanted in his head. But he wasn't this, he wasn't a super powered child.
He also, like, the one thing that they show, and this is when even him are talking, he has memories from his host parents.
Yeah, they write that in really well. They talk about the genetic memory. She suspects that he has genetic memory, but then also finds out that he has like genetic knowledge transferred. So he has memory, and he has the memory and the knowledge of both Superman and Lex Luthor. I mean, how complete all of that is one thing to be discovered, but it's very interesting, to also see that he has these memories from both, and they're like colliding. Like the way he goes to Smallville, he has the memories of Smallville, but his happy memories are of Martha Kent and the Clark farm. And when he goes home, quote unquote, he goes to Lionel Luthor's house. You expect him to be going to the Kent farm, which is what he's looking for, but he goes to the Luthor home.
I thought it was neat that they went more with like the secret origins, excuse me, where Lex grew up in Smallville. Like Lionel is not like a rich and powerful. He's just a average like farmer, abusive person.
Right. He does say that he was a scientist. So I don't know about farmer, but he lived in a country house.
I thought he meant Lex was the scientist.
He said that Lex was a scientist like him.
Okay. But
Lex knew things and understood things that he couldn't grasp yet from such a young age. One interesting thought I had is, like his happy memories, they're exactly that. When you think about happy memories, they're in that light, you know what I mean? Everything is so happy. But when you have bad memories, everything seems so dark. And in memories, they seem worse than they really were. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the fact that, Lionel was probably an alcoholic and, somewhat abusive, like that could be more how Lex interprets his memories of being so much worse than they actually were. At least the way Lionel wants to try and describe their relationship, how Lex lacked empathy, and how he was always so self-determined and propelled, and how narcissistic he is. You know what I mean? So like you kind of make it wonder, like if some of his memories, the dark memories from Lex Luthor, are just, they make it seem worse than it really was. You know what I mean? And then the good memories for Clark were, they're good memories. So they just seem so much more majestic as he's just like remembering them, because they're also the first experience he has of joy and love and fear and anger and hate. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that they're so much more powerful to him at those points.
Excuse me. No, I completely agree with you. I liked that, like, you know, he's conflicted. He's trying to figure out what he's doing. But let's back up to when he first gets out and he's walking around. He has the impulses to help people, which is awesome. Like, you know, he's like, I gotta help her, and then he sees the woman being robbed. After he's drawn to the shirt, the symbol of course, Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And I always think it's interesting how that T-shirt's just hanging there. And he's like, that's the one that just becomes his shirt.
Yeah, like some kind of random merchandising, something that Superman has never worn, but you know, somebody just slapped a red S onto a black T-shirt, and that's how he gets it. That's how it becomes his.
And the guy's like, "Oh, you want it? Yeah, man. Yeah, you got money? I don't have money. Well, come back when you do." Like, I always love that when they have those. They always have those like rude, mean kind of like people who work like. So.
Yeah, the street vendors.
And then so he goes and he rescues a lady, and then this guy's trying to take off her money. He's like, "You have money? Can I have it?" You know, and she's like, "Yeah." She don't realize, and he doesn't realize what's going on.
Right. Yeah, she kind of thinks she's still getting robbed. And he's just asking nicely, like, he doesn't understand the concept of money, but he knows he needs money. Mm-hmm. You have money? Can I have your money? Like, he's so nice about it, but she's like, "Oh my God, yes, take it," because she's still like traumatized about being mugged.
And I mean, she just saw this dude like toss this. He did the great Smallville toss.
Yeah, throw somebody 30 feet.
So I thought that was just fun, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have this. He is walking around, and he's got Krypto with him, and we learned that he heard Krypto being tortured, and that's kind of what triggered and woke him up, and he busted out because he had to save Krypto. I thought that was really cool. Like, you know, and he's walking around, and he, you know, eventually, it's like you said, it's there at Lionel's house where Eve and the team show up. I mean, we have the military trainees going in after him, and
that action scene was so cool.
Oh my gosh, I cheered. Hold on a second. So before that scene though, we forgot we meet Mercy Graves.
Yes, we do.
So that's always interesting when we get another version of Mercy.
Mm-hmm. The first live action version of Mercy that kind of lives up to the reputation of the character created for the animated series.
I agree with you. Very, very much so.
I mean, the one on Supergirl, you know, she was pretty evil, and yeah.
They got rid of her too fast. And that's what made me mad. They got rid of her way too fast.
Right. Especially since they killed her off.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of people die in the line of duty when it comes to working for Lex Luthor, but still.
I mean, we got a horrible Mercy in BVS. Just throwing that out.
Yeah, she barely said anything. She barely did anything. She was literally just following Lex around.
Like a lovesick puppy.
And, yeah, I mean, the reason for her being in BVS was to show how cold this Lex is, because he killed his right hand and blew her up along with the rest of the Senate hearing. Like, that was her entire purpose for being there.
So when they're in the house, like you said, that attack was awesome. They shoot a missile in there, and Krypto catches it and throws it back. The best.
Yeah, first he uses his heat vision and takes a guy's gun out, heats it up so he drops it, and the guy fires a missile into the house, and then he plays fetch with a missile. He jumps up, catches it, and redirects it back outside at the guy who fired it in. That was wild. I did not expect the guy to get blown up by his own missile like that. Well, but it was cool.
I loved how powerful. Like, I was kind of waiting to see how much power he. I don't think he's gonna fly, because we see at the end him leap, and But he had heat vision, which heat vision always makes me happy. So that made me really excited.
Did he use heat vision in this episode?
Yeah. He melted the tires of the van.
Yes, he did.
And I was like, yeah, heat vision. Junia's like, calm down, Tyler.
Yes, he did. And he used super breath.
Yep.
And he used super speed and super strength.
So I think the only thing
they displayed all of his powers pretty quickly.
I think the only thing he's not going to have is flight.
Right. Which I can understand, if they're not going to have Starfire fly, and especially with the way that Starfire does fly, she's like propelled by heat and flame,
Mm-hmm.
The special effects on that would be really expensive. So and then his version of flying is a lot more plain, it's just flying, but
mm-hmm.
If they were keeping that down, I do like the idea of him not being able to fly. Like I said, Young Justice has done the best version of Superboy to date that I've ever seen. And that's the one I enjoy the most. He has some of his own powers. He possesses some Kryptonian powers, but he doesn't possess all of them. And flight not being one. He can leap a tall building in a single bound, but he can't fly.
And that's where I'm coming at is I'm not a fan of the tactical telekinesis. Which was like his original when they did the clone thing. I like the idea
his
that
tactile telekinesis.
I like the idea that he has Kryptonian-based power, but they're a little watered down because of the human, just like they did on Young Justice. In Young Justice,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't have heat vision until he got the shields. So the fact that
all he had, and he didn't even have like X-ray vision. He had infrared vision.
So I like that they're giving him that, and that's why if they say he can't fly, I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like because Superboy to me he is a little depowered than Superman. So I'm okay with that. And we have the scene of she goes to show Connor where he's from. We have a scene where they're on a road trip, him and Dr. Eve there, and he wants to help a girl that's kind of basically being abused by her boyfriend, and she says not to because he'll, make a scene, and they're trying to hide. And so, the guy gets away, and it's an interesting where it's like you gotta hide. He sees all the clones and everything that were messed up, deformed, which is always a heartbreaking realization when he has to realize what he is.
Yeah.
And he feels like a monster. And, she tries to tell him, you're not Superman, you're not Lex Luthor. You're both. You're something else. And he's got to figure out who he is. So he escapes that facility, and he's walking around. And he is walking around and sees people getting beat up and walks right past them. He tells Krypto, come on, boy. And I was like, no. And then where is he walking, James?
He's walking through San Francisco, and he comes upon the window cleaning scaffolding that crashes to the ground, and Jason Todd plummeting to his doom.
And he sees makes me think because he sees him falling. He sees the costume, and he immediately acts. He jumps to catch him, and it's a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason has a great line. And then we see Connor get shot because Mercy had kryptonite bullets. And
she shoots him with kryptonite bullets and takes Krypto off with a kryptonite leash.
And I was like, no!
Terrible.
But so that I liked how this episode was just focused on him. And then we got the nice tie-in at the end with him saving Jason.
And I'd like to say that, and I've heard it a couple of times already, that other people have thought this as well, but I called it. That this episode was going to follow Connor, and at the very end, he was going to be the one who was going to save Jason.
I had wondered that. I wondered if it would have been like the start of after his episode. But yes. And
yeah, we had thrown around a bunch of different theories on how this episode would go. and also how the Jason Todd thing would play out, and I put it together.
Good job, James. Good job.
Pat
James.
myself on the back.
So everybody, send James a high five. But yeah, so what would you rate Connor? I know this is our kind of first, our first, well, you can call it real dive into Titans, because we love Titans and we like talking and touching on it. But usually it doesn't have anything Kryptonian until now, so I kind of like. And I mean, there's so much DC TV to talk about. It's something that just kind of gets hard.
Right. We always kind of put our thoughts out there on the beginning of seasons and pilots, and discuss like what we thought of a show in its entirety and stuff like that. But we don't do like an episode by episode breakdown that we normally do for anything Kryptonian, Krypton, Supergirl. And we do movies because it's DC, but now that we got Superboy here, we got something to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about, like you said, Young Justice more because Connor was in it. But I mean, there's just a lot of DC TV to cover. I mean, this year,
love to cover it all, but dang, there is a lot.
Flash, Black Lightning, Titans, Batwoman, Supergirl. I mean, earlier this year we had Krypton, and
then there was Young Justice,
and earlier this year there
Swamp
was
Thing and Doom Patrol, and
Gotham ended earlier this year.
Right.
And Pennyworth. Phil and I did Pennyworth. Just kind of getting back to our Gotham roots.
Right.
So, but yeah, we love it all. I mean, I give it all a chance. I love my DC. I want to soak it all up because eventually it'll stop and it'll go back to just being Superman and Batman, and then it'll come back. All cycles, All right, well, that wraps up Connor. If you're not watching Titans, check it out. This season is great. It's much more superhero-y. It's done a lot more expansion of the team and the history. And, this is actually a show like this season, I wouldn't mind 22 episodes. I feel with all the characters, 22 episodes would have been a really good way to go compared to just the 13 that in. So
yeah, and also the way they structure, the way DC Universe has structured every single show. I mean, even Swamp Thing to a degree, but Swamp Thing was quite a bit more contained because there wasn't an overabundance of characters. It wasn't such a large ensemble cast. Like Doom Patrol, you had to focus on all of the members of the Doom Patrol as well as all of the supporting cast in the show. Swamp Thing had a few main characters. It was all an ensemble cast. They were all, besides Abby being basically the lead in the show, everybody else, even Swamp Thing, was basically a supporting character in the show.
Mm-hmm.
So, that one's a little different, but Titans, Doom Patrol. So the way they structure the show and the way they focus on all the new characters and they focus on a specific storyline and not trying to fill out each episode with an A, B, and a C plot for everybody. And a lot of filler, the way they structure it, it would work out really good for a longer season.
All right. Exactly. I mean, you couldn't have said it better. Sorry, I was telling my children to calm down. Now let's move on.
That's okay. My daughter's having girls' night, and she's got a couple of girlfriends over here spending the night, and they just came trampling down the stairs.
Respect. Let's move on to Supergirl.
Supergirl, season 5, episode 2. What was it called? Strangers by Me?
Strangers Beside Me.
Strangers Beside Me. That's it. Jean and Kelly use Obsidian tech to discover and recover erased memories of his brother and his betrayal. Jimmy has job offers rolling in. Lena kidnapped Eve to map her mind and graft hope to her brain to what she says to save humanity. Kara is dealing with Andrea and her way of running Catco. William Day tries to track Kara while being while still being assigned to write her stories. Supergirl faces off against Malafa Ak, who impersonates Kelly, and then Alex. So did you know that the 13th episode of this season is going to be Supergirl episode 100?
No, I did not.
Not to jump ahead real quick, but I was looking at it, and this was, I believe, the 89th episode of the show. Yeah. So just something I had discovered before we got on, and I was like, oh, I'm going to mention that. We're going to be hitting the 100th episode this season.
It's kind of crazy. Like, this is the show that everybody's like, oh, okay. And then we're in season 5. And it's kind of crazy that it's been this long. It's been on the CW, and it's been this long. Like, think about season 2 when Superman was introduced. Like, this show's come a long way. I like this episode. Because I like that we got more about John and Malafak. He actually said his name, Malafak.
They kind of say it a little funny or a little different. They call him Malafak or something.
Yeah, let's watch how we say that.
Well, because it was a little different, and I tried not to emphasize that.
But no, I agree. They did say it, and they talked about how he betrayed the Green Martian and sided with the White Martian in the war, and they talked about John, the original brothers, like kind of like the Martian and Abel story.
Yeah, Deimos and Phoebus.
Sounds about
Phoebus.
I don't have my words.
I've heard those. Luckily, I've heard at least part of that name before. I've heard Deimos somewhere, but it was like Phoebus and Deimos or Phoebus and something like that. It's close.
My children deleted the notepad I had open my notes on. So we see that.
Such a joy.
So let's kind of jump around a little bit to the small stuff. Kara, the reporter that she's kind of partnered with, is following him around, like trying to track her, follow her, sabotage her. William Day, as he's doing everything for Andrea, and we see that he follows her down into a sewer where Kara is fighting a Supergirl, and she says, "What are you doing here?" He escapes, and then we see at the end he's volunteering at a home. So that was like a quick little his story.
Yeah, there was something that he had on his screen that he kind of seemed like nervous that Kara had saw, but she was so preoccupied on her own thing because they had discovered Malafa Ak, so she was kind of preoccupied, but she was facing the direction of his screen. He kind of seemed nervous, like she saw something on his screen, and then why he followed her, if it had anything to do with that, I don't know.
Interesting. But
there wasn't anything beyond that, so that's literally all I can say on it.
I can just say that I really feel like Brainy and Dreamer's story I'm done with. I feel like that's going to pull down the series. I don't know, I just feel like I was wasting time every time.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I certainly, by the end, she kind of rolls over and she's like, oh my God, like he needs to stop.
He's like,
he's being really romantic and everything, but
he bought her
like he doesn't know.
Excessive pizza, excessive breakfast in bed.
Yeah, he brought her like 4 breakfast burritos with a flour and her favorite coffee and everything, which was nice. Any woman would love to be able to start their day with breakfast in bed of their favorite food, stuff like that. But then he sends her like 60 boxes of sushi, and like she's got pizza stacked up on her desk. Like, how much food do you think a woman eats? Like, Supergirl can eat all she wants, but
so yeah, and I'm just kind of like, okay, the awkward kind of, I feel like it was all kind of played out already. So
yeah, I mean, last episode, they were kind of like, it's just Brainy's so awkward in it. Like, in last episode he was like so distant, a handshake, like he wouldn't hug her or kiss her or anything. And now this episode, he's like full on extreme, trying to be the most romantic, the best boyfriend ever. Mm-hmm. And like he has no concept of mediocrity, of modesty and moderation.
So, and then we have,
Not my favorite part of the episode either.
We have Jean having an issue and they goes to Obsidian to have his mind to map out to fix it. Like his help.
Yeah, it's interesting. They start Kelly starts probing his mind, and they discover parts of his mind has been erased. They want to figure out how to stop the pain that he's having because it's a Martian condition where brothers or siblings, if they were to engage in combat against one another, it would cause them both agonizing pain. So they're trying to stop that, and they find out that he's had memories wiped and erased. And so then they start delving into his mind, trying to use pieces to reconstruct his memory, which was that was a kind of a cool part.
Yeah.
Showing the Martian war and Malafak and his betrayal and, him remembering pieces and them popping in. And yeah, it was pretty cool how they kind of rebuilt that.
Anytime they give us more with them, I'm okay with it. I love on the show. I could watch a whole spin-off show called just about before.
Yeah, right. I would love to watch a Manhunter show about Martian Manhunter taking down criminals across the known galaxies and, imprisoning them in the Phantom Zone and whatnot. He's called Manhunter, so it kind of seems like he's nearly an intergalactic bounty hunter, less bounty hunter, but more lawmaker, detective cop type thing. Yeah. He actually goes after criminals. He wasn't in it for money, say a la Lobo. He was in it for the right reason.
I kind of would like them to, in this season, in a way, I would like Carl almost to step away from Catco and almost them drop the DEO and really change it up. Now that John runs his own kind of detective agency or something, I don't know what, but just I feel like let's move away from the DEO at least. But we have because we have Andrea after wanting her to write about her event, lowball journalism about who was wearing what, who was dressed. She doesn't care about the real articles that Kara wants to do about James, who has the be a senator. So that's all changing. I think Andrea is going to emerge more of a villain that Lena is going to have to fight as well. Andrea finds her tech.
Right.
And she's all upset about that. And she's upset that Lena cracked it or something. I wasn't sure exactly what had happened.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't exactly sure either. Just more or less, she's able to monitor her tech, and when somebody's trying to, or Lena, when somebody kind of tries to reverse engineer it or crack the code or something like that, she knows. Mm-hmm. Kind of like a corporate espionage failsafe, you know what I mean? So nobody can steal her tech or her idea.
So we have that, and then, like you were saying in the synopsis, what I thought was crazy is Lena maps out Miss Tessmacher's brain. Miss Tessmacher, she kind of alludes to Leviathan, because she says they can't know, they'll find me.
They'll kill me instantly.
And Lena's just kind of whatever, brushes it off, and then basically turns Tessmacher into her AI of hope.
Yeah, she all the while she was mapping her brain, she was setting it up to find out the honest places in her mind that hope would attach to. So it was interesting how she was questioning her and she was talking to her, and she could tell that she was lying because of the way that it happened in her head, the way that her synapses were firing and stuff. So when she was finally being honest, she got what she was looking for, and she could move forward again at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting.
I mean, this episode, I mean, it was okay. Like, there was nothing like, you know, it was just kind of Malafa'ak, you know, he takes on the form of Alex, he takes on the form of Jimmy's sister, you know, trying to get information, tries to attack Alex. That's the biggest action.
He shapeshifts into a fly in this episode. Literally a fly on the wall.
Yeah, the episode was good. It just felt like a lot more of just kind of building an information gap.
There was
a white Martian,
right?
And that white Martian.
Yeah.
By who, James? By who?
Alex.
P. Key. Sorry.
Apparently, you know, Alex has some ammunition that can kill a Martian, or she got lucky. I mean, she knew she was going after. They knew they were going after Malafa'ak. So, you know, knowing Jean, they would know the weakness. You know what I mean? They need to be able to incapacitate, not necessarily kill, but, you know, they know that white Martians are incredibly dangerous. So, which is why Malafa'ak follows her as a biker to her apartment where she impersonates Kelly, and Alex knows by touch that Kelly is not her Kelly, and she uses a blueberry information that she had just learned in the beginning, allergies, that it's not her, and then Malafa'ak impersonates Alex after Alex signals Kara, and then the fight goes down. It's kind of cool seeing, you know, Kara and Alex going at it again. I mean, even though it wasn't Alex, but we get to see the two actresses fighting again, because we haven't seen them fight or anything like that since Alex was training her at the DEO under the kryptonite lights in the first season.
Which was cool. I missed those
So,
trainings.
nice callback.
It was. Anything else we didn't cover? Cool, buddy. That's a little Supergirl.
We covered William, Andrea, Lena, and Eve.
There was no Lena Kara
Jimmy.
interaction.
No, there was no interaction. I was kind of just going down the list of the characters.
That's the easiest way to track it. I'm getting some restless children.
So, yeah, no. It was, you know, second episode of the season. They're setting up things. You know, they're still setting up, like, what is Lena doing? What's going on with Obsidian Tech and Andrea Rojas and Andrea Rojas.
Rojas.
Yeah.
You have to say that like that.
Yes, you have to say it like that. Yeah, like you said. Yeah, exactly. You have to say Rojas and Malafa'ak. You even gotta get the in there.
Exactly. To make some fun.
Right. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to kind of see where it goes, because we're still, and with Supergirl here, we're not tied too much or
there's been no
connecting anything forward to Crisis. Yeah.
And since, you know, Legends isn't back on yet, and Black Lightning, I feel like Black Lightning, the show's not going to tie to Crisis, but the character's going to appear as a Black Lightning from a different Earth, is what I think is going to happen. And then we'll see what happens with the actual show.
Right.
I wonder if maybe there'll be, like, this seasonal wrap in the final episode will have some sort of indication of, like the red light of Crisis or whatever. So...
I mean, I don't, you know, it being his first crossover, I don't want Cress Williams to be forced to be a different Black Lightning.
I mean, that's
for the Crisis, you know what I mean?
I'm just going by A. To me, that would make sense based on how that show is structured. B, what's going on in that show, but also, like, he's got a different suit in the photo we saw.
Well, that suit is the suit he's supposed to have this season.
Okay, cool.
So what I think, because from what I saw on the first episode, I haven't gotten to watch the second episode yet. What I saw on the first episode was his powers. Something happened while he was in custody with the ASA. And something happened where his powers have almost been enhanced. And before this, his first suit created by Gambi was actually hurting him in the long run. So the new suit that Gambi created for him for his return when the first season started was better. It wasn't hurting him, and it was also enhancing his abilities. So some things that he couldn't do before, he could with the help of the suit. But now, whatever has happened to him, he can do things that he could only do with the suit. So I think that he's getting a new suit because he doesn't need the aid of that suit that he previously had.
Well, awesome. That sounds good. But we're going to wrap
So
it up.
I like when they give a real reason to change suits like that, you know?
I do too. They never did an Arrow other than like mask, and then like Real Face destroyed. But then like, okay, he changed it. But after that, like he changed every
Right.
The Flash, they've always come for his suit for this past.
Yeah, his was just kind of like updates, you know? Like new updates to his suit and whatnot.
And then Supergirl's only had the one suit change. And that just happened now, and we got a reason for that. So.
Yeah, and I mean an actual reason for it.
All right, I need to wrap this up. Got some husbandly and fatherly duties to take care of. So this is James and Tyler, the Superman of Ohio. That's right, the land of Siegel and signing off today.
Look up in the sky.
If you're an Amazon shopper, go to southgategroup.com. There's a portal into Amazon. You'll shop into your account just regular, but it also helps keep Southgate running.